Does Fort Collins still hold the #1 spot for Northern Colorado's top city? Well, in my opinion, sadly, it still does. But today I'm going to go through my top 5 towns in Northern Colorado that I think are worth checking out before you check out Fort Collins, even though Fort Collins is still the #1 town to go live in Northern Colorado for plenty of reasons. So let's jump into it today, and as always, my name is Connor Martin with Sukup Real Estate Services. We're here to help you guys purchase and buy homes out here and get your guys' life started in Northern Colorado. So if you ever feel like reaching out with any questions, concerns, want to talk about the market and real estate out here, feel free to give me a call. My information is down below in the description, and let's jump into it today. So we're going to start off easy with the #1 town of Fort Collins. And these are all going to be personally based on that side from my opinions on what I think the reason Fort Collins has stayed #1 for a long time. And maybe even throw in a couple negatives of each town that we're going to discuss as well, just to keep it in perspective. So Fort Collins, to me, the #1 reason why I think it still has stayed #1 in Northern Colorado, and in the top 5 at least in Colorado alone, is the fact that it's a college town with a very popular college of Colorado State University, and that drives a lot of business, a lot of industry into Fort Collins, and a larger population. So right now, Fort Collins, and if you've watched any of my videos, they're sitting around 180,000. Every year it still continually goes up, increasing wise, and for a good reason. One, you can really have your commute times cut down very well living in Fort Collins. You're going to spend a lot less time sitting in your car in Fort Collins than you might living in Loveland and some of these other towns that surround Fort Collins. The big reason why is because Fort Collins really set their town up very well with having grocery stores within minimum probably 5 minutes of most neighborhoods and homes in Fort Collins. They also have places that are fun to go, from outdoor recreational parks to small natural reserves. So being able to get around Fort Collins and finding something fun to do, or when you have those practical errands you have to run, living in Fort Collins makes a hell of a difference. #2 for me is, with it being a college town, having all those amenities, comes the food and activities in terms of alcohol, beverages, and nightlife. Going to downtown Fort Collins, if you've never been to Northern Colorado, is worth going down to during the nighttime on a weekend to see what it really is like. We have plenty of places in the summertime and in the wintertime to go out and grab some really good food, grab some really good beers. If you like Italian food, there's some good Italian down there. If you're looking for some good Hispanic food, there's Blue Agave. And if you're looking for a delicious steak, I would always go to the Whiskey Still versus, we also have places like Sunny Lubbock's if you're looking to be a little more fancy. And if you're looking for the more commercial side of life, we also have a melting pot down there for everybody's needs. And so I would really say those are some of the reasons why I would say Fort Collins is still #1 out in Northern Colorado. But I can guarantee you, as time goes on, if the population growth here stays steady, some of these other towns I'm going to talk about are going to outweigh Fort Collins at some point, because what Fort Collins is doing is they're turning into a Boulder. They are starting to really clamp down on the restrictions of building. They're clamping down on how many people can live here, high density housing here in Fort Collins. It is hard to find a single residential house under $400,000. Right now on the market, come December 2023, there are 4 homes that are single residentials that are on the market for $400,000 to $450,000. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're okay homes, but they are not the best in any means. You can get so much more for your money moving to Loveland, Windsor, Wellington, and some of those places, if you're fine with doing a little bit of commuting. So my #2 town is definitely going to have to be Loveland, Colorado, my home sweet town that I've lived in since 2016. Phenomenal town to live in. My top 2 reasons why I really like Loveland is for the fact that we are so close to Estes Park. When I first moved out here in 2016, Loveland was nothing. I mean, there was really, the mall was dying. there was very little food here for selections. A lot of these restaurants that had been here for 24 years. Nothing new had really moved in up until about 2018, 2019. Then Loveland started really booming on that side, and now we have some really great restaurants in downtown Loveland. We have some really fun bars down there that play live music every week, and so just has become an optimal spot with a little less people. 80,000, maybe starting to get into the 90,000s here in Loveland, Colorado for population, but it still is so much easier to get around in Loveland when it comes to traffic. You will have to commute a little more depending on where you live. The east side of Loveland doesn't have much for grocery stores. They have plenty for other shopping. If you're looking to go to a Shields, if you're looking to go to the mall, super easy, but trying to get over to a Walmart or a King Soopers, you're going to run into some pretty busy traffic going around those areas because Loveland is limited on grocery stores and easy convenience stores to grab your normal errand runs. We do have a Sam's Club in Loveland. Fort Collins has the Costco, if that makes a difference on that side, but Loveland is a great spot because of it being a smaller town than Fort Collins and is continually graduating into becoming a little bit better of a partner for Fort Collins with having more bars, restaurants, and open places to go sit, to where Fort Collins on a Friday night, you might have to wait an hour and a half for a seat at some of these destinations I talked about. And when you go over to Loveland, there's a few places like that, but more likely the wait is only going to be about a 20-minute wait. So my number 2 reason why I really like Loveland, and never thought I would say this in a million years because I was never a big fan of Estes Park, but now it is the fact that we are so much closer to Estes Park than anybody else. We are one of the big gateways other than going through lines in some of those areas. But living close to Estes Park to where it's a 35 to 45 minute drive up to Estes, depending on how fast the traffic's going or how fast you drive on that side, is a huge bonus. Me and Lauren, we just got married this last week and stuff on a Sunday. We went and stayed at the Elizabeth Hotel in Fort Collins on Monday, and then on Tuesday we went up and went and spent some time up at Estes Park, which was phenomenal. It was a great time. We went and had some really nice Hispanic food up there. Just an optimal place to live if you're wanting to get out into the foothills and mountains. And that's one of the big negatives of Fort Collins, is to get up to Estes Park, you're adding an extra 25 to 30 minutes to your drive. And so most people in Fort Collins are going to go mess up around Horsetooth or LaPorte or go up towards Risk Canyon and some of those areas to go have fun. My number 3 town, and this one is pretty parallel to Loveland. The only downside is the fact that it's another 15 minutes east or so, is living in Windsor, Colorado. Windsor, Colorado has become, number one of the most booming towns here in northern Colorado with population and restaurant growth and bar districts and amenities. They have, they have a 4-lane road that goes through the middle of downtown Windsor on that side, and it's pretty easy to commute around there. It has gotten a little harder with the population growth, but at the same time you get awesome places like the MASH Lab. They're starting to get some more fast food joints for quick access. They have a King Soopers, they have a Safeway, and they have a couple fun, places to go hang out in Windsor as well, to where really if you're not that big a fan of going into the mountains on that side, Windsor might be a really good secondary option with a little bit of cheaper housing, a little bit newer housing as well, and it can be a really good secondary option if for some reason you're priced out of the Loveland Fort Collins area, depending on what you need for a house wise. My second reason why I really like Windsor, Colorado is because it has a master HOA community called Rain Dance, Colorado, or Rain Dance. One of the coolest neighborhoods, I personally think, that's in northern Colorado. It really mimics what some of the areas of southern Colorado has, like Colorado Springs and Parker and Castle Rock. This place is a big old neighborhood, has some really gorgeous new homes that were starting to get built in the 17 time to 18, and now it has exploded to where it's really filled out. Still has plenty of lots left to build on that side, but they have one of the coolest pools out there. They have a really top-end golf course that's out in that neighborhood. They're going to be building another golf course as well on that side, and they also do have a trail that would take you from Windsor, Colorado, into Loveland, Colorado, and into Fort Collins at some point. And so living in Windsor is a desirable place to be and will continue to be a desirable place to be as time goes on, and I think that will be one of the next towns that might outshine someday Fort Collins and even potentially Loveland on that side. So those are my two reasons why I really like Windsor. The biggest issue with Windsor, though, it's on the east side of I-25. Traffic can get a little hectic around that area, and getting to the commuting side for Windsor is also a little easier getting onto I-25, but getting down to DIA might take a little more time. It just depends. So that would be the biggest negative. And the house prices have increased as well in Windsor and is a little more expensive. You know, you can find some single residential houses there for in the $300,000 range. It's going to be those high threes, 385, 395, pushing closer to those 400s. But some of the townhomes and apartments there, you're going to get a little bit more bang for the buck on that end. So, let's check my phone really quick. So my next one for number 4 is going to be Berthoud, Colorado. And sorry if my voice sounds a little raspy today. I was sick all last week, and so still trying to get over that, so I do apologize if I sound like I'm a 50-year-old smoker on that end. But we're also trying to make this quick, so I don't make this a 30-minute long video as well. So number 4 is going to be Berthoud, Colorado, just to the south of Loveland. Not very far. Still has really easy access to Estes Park. Add a few extra minutes for jumping over to Highway 34, but really it's just a small suburb. Smaller town. I think the population's only around the 8,000 people mark on that side, and so very small, very quaint. They aren't as upcoming as, say, a Windsor is, but they are slowly building their population. They're building the community. They put in a beautiful rec center on the west side, well, the northwest side of Berthoud, which is awesome on that side. My mom actually works in the school districts there and has enjoyed those school districts, says that they're very good and they stick to the curriculum on that side. And just an overall good population. Does have some really nice new builds that are going on in some pretty nice locations. TPC is one where you can still go out and build some custom homes on a lot on one of the top golf courses in northern Colorado. And so just one of those really top areas, but very rural at the same time, which is a pretty rare system when it comes to living on the western foothills of northern Colorado. My second reason why I really like Berthoud, Colorado is probably because they have some of the best Rocky Mountain views in northern Colorado. I used to say probably about a year ago Loveland had the best views, but in the last few years I've really got to explore some acreages on the Berthoud side, and I will tell you, it is amazing the views you get of the Twin Peaks and some of the other really high-end mountain ranges. And I will say, if I ever had an opportunity to go buy 5-10 acres up in Berthoud, Colorado, I would not hesitate. It is expensive to live in Berthoud, especially if you're buying an acreage. Water taps are not cheap. The water system that you're going to have to go on, typically if it's a well, or if you could tap into put a water tap actually onto the property, it could range anywhere from $70,000 all the way up to $90,000 for a water tap out there. And obviously bringing in electrical and some of those other things could be expensive. But because it is a rural town, they do like having acreages and acreage properties. And so some of the building codes and permits I have heard, haven't built there personally, but have heard it's a little easier to get acreage homes built out in Berthoud, Colorado. So that would be my second reason why I really like Berthoud and why I would really put it on a suggestion list for you guys to go check out. Not meant for everybody, but it is a really cool spot. My fifth and final one was a tough toss-up. You know, there's a lot of towns in eastern Colorado that I really like Timnath, Colorado, Eaton, Alt, some of those places, super rural. But they're not really close to the foothills, and I know a lot of people who are moving to northern Colorado are looking to kind of be towards more of the activity, more of the fun. And so my fifth one will be Wellington, Colorado. I really like Wellington, Colorado for the fact that it is still close to Fort Collins. You know, it's a commute. We have one of our realtors, Izzy Abrams, has lived out in Windsor now, I think, for at least 3 to 4 years, and she is 100% ready to get out of Windsor due to the fact that she is constantly having to commute for her work and for her job, and she is going to be getting married here at some point in life, and they're going to try and find probably a place up here in Loveland, Colorado, to be a little closer to her work and be a little closer on that side. But the big positives of Wellington, Colorado, one is the cheapness of the homes up there, significantly cheaper. You're going to get a heck of a lot more square footage for your money living in Wellington, Colorado, especially versus Fort Collins on that side. And so it's a really good option on that side. Now, this town is very rural. I mean, they have one grocery store, they have one small fitness center on that end. And so living there, learn to commute or learn to enjoy the few amenities you have out there, and enjoy the fact that your monthly, you know, mortgage is going to be half of what you would have in Fort Collins on that side, especially with these interest rates being up in the 6.5 to 8% range that it has been in the last few months. And so those are my biggest reasons why I really like Wellington, Colorado, is for the cheapness factor. Number two is it's really the last place in northern Colorado near Fort Collins where you can really put an acreage. They had a moratorium out there for a while to where the water rights out there were harder to get on that side and not the easiest thing to work with. But at the same time, it's kind of lifted at this point. It has become a really nice place. We just had a friend move out there and build a really nice custom home on 10 acres. They did a phenomenal job, and they got some really great mountain views, and it's just an overall really great place to be able to just go out and enjoy your serenity and kind of being alone, if that is your thing. It is for me, at least on my side. So that's really it, guys, on that end. If you guys really like these videos, please subscribe, like, comment, tell me what your favorite town is, tell me why you hate the town that I recommended, and let me know why it's a POS or why it's one of the greatest towns in northern Colorado. And always, I really appreciate you guys watching these videos, and if you guys ever need help in the real estate side, or just for the fact that you're coming out here to visit, feel free to reach out to me. Shoot me a text, shoot me a call. If you want to do email, I'll see it eventually, so feel free to reach out anytime. Hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you next week.